Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Can you hear me better? I hope you can hear me. Yay, I'm back. I cut the stream because I really didn't feel like editing a bunch of video. I figure just cut it here, have two different things to work on. I wanted to touch back on a question that somebody answered. Is like, what would I suggest to young people looking into getting into this? If we're talking about animation in general, there's a lot of really good animation courses out there online. You could also go to different art schools. Dave's school's pretty good. You got the Guild Hall up in Dallas. And let's see. Hold on. Does anybody hear me okay? See if I can turn up my mic a little bit. But anyways, you got the Guild Hall. I mean, they're all over the place. I'm sure you can do a quick search and find a ton of different schools that teach animation. Another thing you can do to get in, and this is key. Who you know gets you in the door. What you know keeps you there. So network. When I worked at DNA on the Jimmy Neutron show, I got to talk to a lot of animators, and for me as a young kid just trying to get into the industry, is really cool to talk to these guys. And they said the thing that they got most out of going to the Art Institute, a lot of them went to the Art Institute of Dallas, is networking. They met a lot of connections that helped them get into the job that they're currently into. Cool. All right, so let's hop in here. He got defeated by the ad. I'm sorry. All right, so here we go. Here is some animation. I pulled up a list of bunches of animations. What I kind of want to point out is this is a live retarget right now. So I'm going to play this. You can see the markers moving with the skeleton data. This is kind of like what we call a fidget. And so you'd have a normal idle playing like this. This is an idle. And this idle would occasionally play this little fidget where he kind of just amberies out. There we go. So whenever you start working on one of these animations, say you're handed a whole bunch of these, things that you have to start thinking about is like a home pose. Typically a game will have one pose that a character starts in, and everything branches out from that one pose. Whether it's a neutral, I'm just standing there and he's got to transition to a combat pose, or he's got to draw his weapon, he's got to go into his weapon pose. So you have your main pose that everything branches from, and then within each group you'll have their own set of home poses. So you can have like a ton of home poses that for each set of animations, but eventually they all transition back to whatever the main home pose is. In this case, it's this, and he looks okay. He's not too bad, but you'd probably want to go in here and fine-tune the pose itself. As great as motion capture is, it can always use a helping hand, and strong posing is extremely important, even with motion capture. And I've done animations, or I've worked on animations where the guy comes in and maybe the pose is something like this. Like he's going, there we go. It's like going, yeah, but it doesn't look very nice. So I come in there, and I'll push it where he's like really stretching out. It's like a really strong, dynamic hero pose, and I put that throughout the animations. As I'm working with the motion capture, I try to see where I can get really strong posing, and I try to fine tune, and I try to sculpt, for lack of a better term, the character into these poses. I don't know if I'm going to do that tonight. let's look at some of these. Let's look at some of this data. Let's see what we have here. What looks interesting? I got this kind of this cool little thing going on. This would mean finger animation and that sort of thing. Let's see what else we got here. We got some. Ooh, you got to run forward here. No weapon. Let's see, what does this thing look like? So he's got this cool run. Kind of a sprint. It's kind of cool. Show you how to make that loop and cycle. How do you make a run or a walk cycle in motion capture? So what else do we got here? We have we got stuff with weapons. Except unfortunately I don't have the weapons haven't been captured. Or at least if they were, they're not in this file. So here he is. He's kind of doing this crouch walk with a rifle. But I don't know. Here's let's see what the walk looks like. Just run, just walk forward. That's a crouch walk forward. Let's see. Here we go. Here's his walk forward. Yeah, maybe I'll start off with a walk. I think a walk sounds good. All right, so I want to note something. When we shot this on stage, he was walking diagonally across the volume. If you look down in this bottom left corner, you can see it Z is forward, which is pointing that way, that direction. That direction's negative Z, and that's X. And he needs to be actually walking down Z. But he's a live retarget right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plot him down. So I'm going to plot to skeleton. And I'm going to plot to control rig. So now I've got a control rig on him. He's kind of looking off to the side too. So again, let me show you something. In this animation, you can see the the orange joints in the motion capture. Let me turn that off. You can see the orange joints in the motion capture, and it looks straight. But when he was characterized, he was actually characterized over here in one of the, I want to say it was the idle one. If I go over here, you can see his neck is crooked. So because it was characterized with a crooked neck, when in later data where the data is good, like this walk forward, it caused his head to be off. Not a big deal, but again, this is something that you'd have to look at, like what you're seeing in the last demo of how do I make this better for the animator. All right, so let's see, he's walking. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to hide the motion capture, which I don't think I have a group for that. So let me go grab that character. I'm going to create a group, which is down here now. Click on that, and we call it mocap. And I'm just going to turn that off because I don't need to see it right now. Cool. All right, so now he's walking forward. So now I need to get him walking straight. I need to get him walking straight down the line. So I'm going to go to story, insert, see, character animation track, pick my character. You can see the motion capture characters in here as well because it's characterized. Insert current take. There it is. Turn on the little eyeball. I can now see the path he's walking. I'm going to get that path lined up, so I'm just going to 0, 0, 0, puts him, so he's starting now at world 0, and I'm going to rotate him around, so he's walking forward. Now, there's a bug I've discovered inside Motionbuilder 2018 and 2019, now 2019 kind of confirms it for me. you used to be able to type in the number here and get them to go exactly in the direction that you want them to go in, where it'd be like, I want them to go -90, which would put him this way, or +90 would be that way, or you could zero everything out and he would just walk straight forward. But something has happened, and even if I hit 0 there, you can see he's actually not, it hasn't rotated at all, and I don't know what the problem is. I've never experienced this problem in Motionbuilder before, but I just noticed it just recently, and it's very frustrating. Let me go to the top view. You see, there we go. Go to the bottom view. So you can see how far that is off, and I don't want it to be that far off. So I'm going to try to get that as close as possible, walking straight down the line. Oh, it's way off. Maybe 0.01. Nope, wrong direction. It's frustrating. Well, I'm going to pretend I'm in Motionbuilder 2014. This works. In older versions, you could actually grab the end joint as well and rotate things around. But man, it's just really frustrating that I feel like they broke something. All right, so now he's walking in that direction. I'm going to take the time now to go ahead. I'm going to pick out the cycle that I want. So let me go to the right view. I'm going to watch him walk. And this, I'm not going to do this in particularly for a game animation. I'm just going to make a walk forward that loops. So I'll probably do more than just a couple of steps or one full cycle. I might do like 2 or 3 cycle walk. So let's see here. Pause that. And so you usually want to start in a passing pose. Let me break this down for you. So this is when the foot's coming up and it's passing in front of, or by the other one. That's a passing pose, and that's usually where you want to start your animations from. If you start your animations where the feet are out, that's usually not the best. I've found you really want to start with the passing pose. So if you're working on a game, you usually have to talk to the engineers and find out if he needs to be left foot passing or right foot passing. It really depends on your game. In this case, we'll just make him right foot passing. Go back to my right. So I'm going to come down here into my story, and I'm just going to clip it right there. And I'm just going to delete that first little section of animation. Timing is everything. And then I'm going to cycle him, so he's going to step, step, passing pose. That's 1 cycle. Step, step. That's 2 cycles. Step, step. That's 3 cycles. And I'll do one more. Step, step, 4 cycles. So this will be a 4 cycle walk. Come in here. I'm going to trim that, delete that. I'm also going to adjust this so it starts at 0, 0, 0. There we go. And then I'm going to take this. I'm going to actually, right now it starts on frame 215. So I'm going to zero that out, pop that over to frame 0. I'm going to say frame start to end. It now has reframed it from 0 to frame 140, so it's 140 frame animation. There he is walking. If I like that, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to plot to skeleton and back down to character. There's multiple ways to do the same thing in Motionbuilder. I'm going to give you a word of warning. If you come in here and you right click and you say plot whole scene to current take, you can screw up a bunch of stuff. Don't ever do that. This is if you're doing like a cinematic and you need to plot like cameras and all sorts of other things to kind of lock down your scene. Don't use that. There's better ways. You can come right up here and you can say plot to skeleton and plot back to the control rig, And I'm going to come in here. I'm just going to go ahead and delete. Where is it? Delete. Delete that whole track. So now he's walking forward. And I'm going to switch over to my tablet. Actually, I've been mousing it, keyboard and mousing it. I'm going to switch over to my tablet because I just feel more comfortable animating that way. A lot faster. All right, so I'm going to go to frame 0, and I'm going to start fixing this pose so it looks cool. You want to animate in passes or iterations. So the first pass, maybe I'll fix his head. So I'm going to go to animation layer, and I'm going to fix his head. I'm going to do a couple different things to fix his head. First, I'm going to do a neck fix on the guy. I'm going to select all the joints in his neck, and I'm going to make sure I'm in local. And F curves. Rotation. Oh, I got to go back to base animation layer where all my curves are. This is called a neck fix or a head fix. A lot of times when motion capture comes through, you may have the rotational data is good, but the translational data is bad. And the way you can fix it is by selecting all the IK, which is this yellow skeleton, and I'm going to zero that out. So click 0. And you can see now his head is stiff. Now he's like walking, but his head is stiff. But I can fix that by taking his head, which I'm going to select an IK node, which we talked about earlier, right? I'm going to turn on rotation, and his IK node still has rotational value on it. So now I'm going to play it, and you can see it's got all that motion is back on his head. But we no longer have like an ugly neck, even though his head's still like facing off to the side. So now I'm going to go into my animation layer, and this is where I get to start straightening his head up. So I'm just going to zero this out. So now he's looking straight forward. I'll set a key. But I don't like it completely, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to tilt his head down like he's looking up. You know, usually your head will be down, but your eyes are kind of like looking up across your brow. So I'll set a key right there. Not worried about the end at the moment. You can see how much he's wandering off the path. You can see him moving to his right. And then he kind of gets back to the beginning as he comes to the end. We'll fix that. I'll show you how to fix that. And then there's a pop because the poses don't match up. Again, when I was talking about window dressing, that node has the character's animation is window dressing. This is window dressing. So if you don't fix the animation to loop, you'll get pops. Let's fix that. I think his background's a little dark for me. I think I might change some of these colors up a little bit, make it a little bit more easy on my eyes. You can do that by going to your camera settings, picking the camera you want to change, in this case producer perspective. And change that background color to something a little bit different. Let's see, maybe not that. Maybe bluish. I don't know. Tell me if this hurts your eyes. I've seen some animators. I've opened up some files in the past where that's the background. I'm like, how do you animate like that? I don't know how you do it. I usually try to pick a nice neutral color that has nice contrast with whatever the characters I'm working on. Ew. See, from what I know, the control rig has different names depending on what software you're using. If I understand Lumberyard calls the control rig an actor. Is this correct? If Lumberyard has a control rig that you can use to animate, I don't know if I know exactly what it's called, but yes, in the editor itself, I believe they call it an actor. Cool. Blue-gray is fine. Sometimes I'll color the ground as well. If this starts bugging me, I'll switch over. I just want to be able to better see the character. Oh, so one of the things I'm going to note as well is he's actually walking out of the light. So there's a little trick you can do. Because I took my light and I put it on a control, I can actually move the light with him. Oh, it's selected. And I had the camera, had the producer perspective camera and the light control selected. All right, let's unselect the camera and try that again. There we go. So you can see the lights. I can get the lights to move with them. So I'll just start the lights there. I'll go to the end, and I will bring the lights with them. And I'm going to have to switch that curve on the lights to being linear. So maybe it moves a little bit closer with them. So now if I'm looking at him in the front mode, he's not walking out of the light into shadow. All right, let's get back to that first frame. Get back on track. I'm just goofing off here. Let's fix his feet. Get rid of that. I'm going to go ahead. My settings is I like to pin the feet, pin the hips, turn off any pull that may be on your character, which is this right here. Let's start getting this guy so he looks, cool. I did the head. Set the key there. Let's look at these hands. I really like using the schematic view. It's just so nice. Let's see. I do like to customize what I'm looking at, so I can tell what I'm looking at. So that is that hand. That's that hand. Yeah. What got me into animating? So when I was in high school, there was a video series called Beyond a Mind's Eye, and it was an anthology series that you could rent at Blockbuster. And it was a bunch of short animated animations. Some of them had stories, some of them was just what was cool at the time. And I saw it and I was like, I want to do that. Of course, we're talking 1993. This is back in the dinosaur ages of computer animations, when they were like literally a programmer was typing in vertices and Phong shading and and telling that vertice to move in this direction for this duration. Beyond the Mind's Eye. Yeah, Beyond Mind's Eye. That's what interested me. I knew I'd never be an astronaut or a fighter pilot, so I picked animation. All right, let's give him a cool hand pose. So what would be a cool hand pose for this guy? I give him, he's kind of a creature. I'm gonna give him a kind of a Hogarth hand, like Bernie Hogarth, who's an illustrator. I'm gonna switch over to full body mode because I think I'm just gonna do a quick like full body pass on this guy just to kind of get him to feel kind of cool. It's really dark skin. Makes it hard to see. If it's ever hard, you can like hit 3 on the keyboard and it'll switch it over to, you know, whatever the default mesh color is. Uh-oh. Don't crash, don't crash, don't crash. Don't crash. Okay. Save. Okay. There we go. Why am I not able... Oh, I must have clicked that button accidentally. By the way, if you want to select something in particular, let's say I only want to select joints. You can click this button and you can select joints. Or this button will only select markers. Oh, joints and markers. Markers, for example. Nulls, so on and so forth. So if you're like, oh, why can't I select something? Come over here and look at these and see if anything's highlighted. I must have hit the hotkey or something for this. So I had to turn that off so I can start selecting his fingers. I was like, why can I not select his fingers? So let's get those fingers. If you like a pose on a hand or something, what you can do is you can come down to the pose controls and say, I like that pose. I'm going to copy that pose. And if it's a hand, because let's say I specifically like this hand, I'll just zoom right in on that hand and I'll update my thumbnail. This created a pose down here. So what I can do is I can select a joint on the other hand and hit the mirror button and paste. Oh, I'm in full body mode. Let me turn off that. Just on body part mode. Mirror, paste, set a key, turn off the mirror because don't leave it on. You can make a mistake. So I think that's a good starting point right there. I don't know if I like the arch in his back so much. I'm going to pin his chest. I'm going to go back to full body mode. Pin his chest in translation. I'm going to pin his head in rotation. And I'm going to pin his arms in rotation. So what that's going to allow me to do is I can actually adjust his posture a little bit. I think this way he's a little too archy this way. So I'm going to kind of hunch him forward a little bit. Set a key. And by the way, because I'm doing all this in an animation layer, this is non-destructive. And I can always revert it anytime. There's another cool tool you can use in here. If you go to Navigator, and let's see if I can see characters. Make sure you select your character. Go to character settings. I want to say it's in place. So you can actually lock him in place. So I want to lock him in the Z. Oh, not the Z. I don't know where that put him. Where is that putting him? It's putting him way out there for some reason. I have no idea why he's way out here, but he's way out here for some reason. But yeah, you can lock it, and you can kind of like look around your characters as you animate. See if you're... It looks weird because his hips are locked. If I get rid of the X. Yeah, if I get rid of X, his hips are no longer locked in X. If I get rid of Y... No, Z. If I get rid of Z, his hips are no longer locked in Z. You can kind of see how he's locomoting. Runaway character, yes. This is a very old file. I don't know what's causing him to jump out here when I use this tool, but yeah, there's an in-place tool. It's really helpful. Usually it puts him at world 0, but for some reason he's out there. All right, let's go look at that pose again. This arm is kind of flared out to the side. This one. I think I might pull it down just a bit. Every actor that you capture has kind of like their own signature way that they move. And when you worked with an actor long enough, I'd be like, I know who did that motion. So sometimes actors will have like really stiff arms, or one arm will be out a little bit farther. Sometimes you want that personality in your character, and other times you might want to pull it out. Soothing, like watching Bob Ross. See, what does Bob Ross say? He's like, well, it's yeah, we just feel like it. We're gonna talk to this guy. Say, how you doing today? You look like a mean guy. You gonna go kill somebody? Just because I feel like it. Oh yeah, Bob Ross is great. I do watch his channel on occasion. He's really swaying back and forth. Look at that. His upper body is really going back and forth. Let's see. I think this is good enough for my first pass. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plot this down. Plot to skeleton. Plot to control rig. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that pose. And I'm going to call this walk. Walk. This will be my walking pose, and I'm going to go paste this on the back end. So I'm going to set my 0 key, which is at 0. The 0 key means if you have a base animation, you go to my F curves. You can see I have curves down here, right? So 0 key means, let me explain what an animation layer is. An animation layer is an additive. So if I wanted to, let's say, put his arm up like that for some reason, set a key and make him walk, you can see it still has the motion on that arm, but his arm is now up. I've added an offset. So by saying I want a 0 key, I'll click 0. It puts it back down to the base layer, even though there's still a key technically there on that joint or that character. It's kind of zeroed out to whatever the base animation layer is. Then I'm going to go to the very end. This is where we start having a little bit of fun. I'm going to grab his hips. So and I'm going to paste his pose on. Well, I need to be very careful about how I paste this pose on. I'm going to turn translation. I know I want him to rotate. And I want him to snap to the X, and I'm going to hit paste. You can see how he shifted, right? Actually, I didn't set a key so I can scrub it and pop out. So there. Set that key. Now if I go back to this view and I toggle back and forth between those, there it is. First key and the last key, you can see I'm toggling back and forth between the two. There's no movement, which tells me the poses are identical. But I want you to notice something. His feet are actually sliding on the floor now. So we're going to have to go in and we're going to have to fix that. He's also kind of like drifting off to one side as he's walking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a pass where I'm going to straighten him up so he's walking more in a straight line. So on every passing pose where his left foot is down, I'm going to just go to full body mode, turn off my pinning, and I'm just going to slide him over like that. Let me go back to the first frame. Yeah, that's close. It's close enough. And I'm going to slide him off to the side. This one, he needs to go back the other way. There you go. If this was a cinematic or something, you'd probably want that kind of like drifting back and forth. But if it's a game asset, chances are you want him to walk in a straight line because you don't want him to like clip the side of a door if it happens to be at that point in the animation as he's going through it. But you can see his feet are sliding, which means I got to do my second pass, or second iteration on this pass. It's called the foot trick. At least I call it a foot trick. It's probably not a trick. It's probably very common, common practice. Let's go to a right view like that. Let's look at what his feet are doing. So I'm going to concentrate on just one foot at a time. I'm going to go to body part mode, so I'm only affecting his foot. So as his left heel comes down and strikes the ground, right about there, I'm going to take this key and I'm going to slide it into place. You can see it's moving his foot a little bit. Zoom in on it. See it's moving his foot. I'm going to copy that key. And then as he comes up off his toe, I'm going to repaste that key. You can see his foot shifted. So while that foot is on the ground, that offset is locking it into place. And then when he picks it up to go step down, I'm going to repeat the process. He's going to come and his heel's going to strike right about there. I'm going to slide that key that I created, copy that, right where it starts to pick up, paste the key. You can see the little shifts as I do this. You go to full screen like that. Set his foot down, repeat the process, pull that, copy, slide forward where his foot picks up, paste. And then one more, copy, paste. And then he picks his foot all the way up. Even though I don't need to, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set a key right where his foot picks up anyway, because I might need to shift those offsets. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the other foot. Let's see. All right, so his foot starts down. So as he starts to pick up, I'm going to copy that first key and paste it here. He's going to come forward. He's going to plant right there. Slide that key over. Copy. Where he picks it up, I'm going to paste. Slide, copy, shift, paste. So what's happening is if I go and look at the curve editor, you can see all these offsets. And what I'm doing is where his foot needs to transition, it's blending in the passing where the foot's actually passing. So you're not seeing the shift. If I did it where the foot was on the ground, you would see the foot sliding on the ground. So he picks it up, he comes and he plants. You can see those curves down here moving. Copy, picks it up, paste. Let's see, I've looked at a couple of mocap programs like Mobu, and they are crazy expensive. Is there anything similar you could recommend for training, testing purposes that could be used for practice that don't cost a fortune? Wow. Let me think. If you're a student and you have a student email, you can get cheap Autodesk. You can get this from Autodesk, relatively cheap. I don't know how much, but cheap, much cheaper. Most companies have a package for students, and if you're not a student, maybe you know somebody who is, you can borrow their email. There are plugins for Motionbuilder, and there are plugins for Macs if you happen to have those programs. Again, those are expensive programs as well. So see, now I want to, not sure where to start. Yeah, this I think I pulled this up earlier. I think I still have it open. Yeah, this Motionbuilder is $1,700. You can get the 30-day trial, by the way, and just play with it for 30 days and see how you like it. But yeah, it's expensive. Again, I want to give as an example, Lightwave back in the day was about this much, and the student version was like $800, so it was all like $1,000 less, or it was almost $2,000. Actually, I think Lightwave's almost $2,000 less, student version. But yeah, you can definitely download the trial version. You got 30 days. You can play with it. GDC just released a bunch of free mocap that you can grab as well and play with that. I have links down on my page that you can click on where you can buy motion capture, like libraries of motion capture. So that's one thing that you can do. So step, one more plant, copy that last key, and paste. I probably didn't have to paste that last key on this one since this is the down foot, but I just do it out of practice. So something you have to be aware of Motionbuilder as well is you want to select both your feet, rotation and translation. And you want to select all your keys and you want to flatten them. You can flatten them here, work. Sometimes there's like an anomaly, even though you think the curve is flat, like in this little space right here, you can see this curve between here is flat. It's not really flat, unfortunately. And you'll see some weirdness. So let's get back into producer perspective. Let's look at his feet. You can see his feet are actually planting now. Going up uneven terrain? Yeah, you know what? I'll tell you what. I'll show you how you can manipulate this to go up an uneven terrain. Typically, you would want to actually put a ramp on your mocap stage and have the actor actually walk up terrain, because there's a certain way the body moves as you're going uphill or going downhill, just because you're balancing yourself. But you can manipulate it through here. You can motion edit stuff. But yeah, I'll show you. Just give me a little bit. Let me get this guy walking and cycling. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna plot that. Plot to skeleton. I like it. Plot to control rig. Now I want to make sure, I want to ensure that this actually loops, that there's not a hitch. So when you look at your curves, let me go to the base animation where my curves are now. Let's see if I can find a good example. Up and down. Up and down might be a good example. All right, so with this, you can see, There we go. Okay, so with this you can see how the curve kind of comes up and over and down into the loop. And then when it ends, it comes up here. And this value, which is 0, and that value is 0, there's actually a number there. You want to make sure that this curve is flowing into this curve on all your joints. So that's like one example that we need to make sure that things loop. And there's several ways you can do this to make it easy. One way is in story. So I'm just going to go back over to story. I'm going to insert character animation track, insert my character, insert current take. I'm going to get this warning because I've got an animation layer, but I baked everything down, so I should be good. Don't need to show that again. It won't pull in animation layers that have keys, and you can lose all your keys. So before you go into story, you definitely want to make sure you bake everything down. So now we're in story. Boom, boom, boom. As he walks forward. Boom, 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 boom. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this 3 times. Insert current take. Go out this way. Insert current take. All right, so now I have this thing looping 3 times. I'm going to turn on this so you can see his little ghost skeleton out here. I'm going to butt all 3 of my animations up together. And you can see what's happening is he's walking and he's just going to repeat that cycle 3 times. But what I want is I want him to continue to walk forward, right? Because I don't want to screw up my my Z curve. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to go to start frame. Actually, I probably don't even have to go to the start frame. I'm going to select this. I'm going to select a body part. I'm going to select his hips. And I'm going to click match. And you can see it's got the hip effector right there. I'm going to say to next clip at the start of next clip, because you can manipulate how it's going to match. I'm going to match this up to the beginning, and I'm going to click OK. You can see it's actually thrown him out this way. So now he's got a much longer cycle. So I've now extended it from 4 to 8. And I'm going to do it again for the next one. Hit that, click match. I'm going to say to the previous, click OK. And you can see it's now extended it out. And you can see the ghosting as he leaves, like he's the blue ghost, and then he's now the pink ghost. Now he's going to be the teal ghost. And I'm not seeing any pops. So then what I do is I say frame start to end. And now this is going from -140 all the way to 280. I'm going to go ahead and plot this whole thing down. Plot to skeleton. Plot to control rig. I'm going to go ahead and delete. Delete that track. He's back there now. Now what I can do is I can come in here and I can smooth out the transitions, or I can really look at where at 0, because this is where the animation is actually looping. It's at 0, and the other one would be at 140 down here. But I can see what I need here. Let me go to my front view. Look at that again. There's a little bit of a hitch. I don't know how well it's coming across on the video. There's a little bit. We want to take care of that. So what I'm going to do is I will select my control rig and go to my F curves. Make sure I select everything. You can do that by unselecting and then reselecting your translation and rotation. And I'm just going to do a simple smooth. So I'm going to go to my filters. I'm going to find smooth. I got to lift this up so I can see all my settings. I want to turn off use quaternions. I'm going up 30 frames a second, so my default is 4. I'm going to turn that down to 2. I'm going to hit preview. I don't know if you saw there's a shift here in the keys. Let me see if I zoom in here to some of these keys. I'm going to set reset. You can see kind of how it's kind of jagged. There's a lot of noise in these curves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to preview again. You can see how it's smoothed those curves out. So when you do motion capture, there is noise on the data, and that noise can actually get onto your character. And there's a couple different ways you can smooth it out, and the smooth that you use depends on what you want to accomplish. If you're doing like really rough mocap with a lot of peaks and spikes, there's a smooth called Butterworth, and that preserves your curve and gets rid of all that spikiness. It's great for raw motion capture, especially when you get dirty data. Smooth will actually slightly change your curve and kind of like average out, which is why I use very small numbers, because again, if you do it too much, you will literally destroy. So you kind of have to like play around, and you'll get to a point where you know when to use what smooth. And in this case, just a regular smooth is good, and I'll hit accept, and that accepts that smooth. And when I play it now, actually his whole skeleton's selected, so it's going to run a little bit choppy, so I'm going to deselect everything and play it. So yeah, I think he's working a lot better now. He definitely feels a lot more smooth. He still has the fidelity of the motion capture, but he doesn't have the noise of the motion capture. There's definitely a fine line. You can over smooth, and when you over smooth, you can actually make the feet feel mushy on the ground. They start feeling like they're sliding, and all that hard work you did to kind of get the feet to stick to the ground at the beginning is lost. It's just a big pain. So you have to use it sparingly. When I'm happy, it's time for me to crop my animation back down to my original cycle, because we don't want, unless this is called for in your animation, we don't want this huge, long, animation. So here's my trick. If this is negative 140, if you've forgotten your numbers, and I always forget numbers, the negative 140 is actually 140 here, and then this would be frame 0. And then if you want to double check, you can just hit play in a front view before you do any baking down, and make sure that you don't get any pops, and we're not getting any pops. And time to plot to skeleton, plot to control rig. We've now taken that big long cycle, and we have chopped it back down to the 140 frames. There he goes. So let's talk about timing. If the director comes in and says, I really love that motion, but he's a little too slow, I need him to move faster, or maybe design says we need him to move faster, we can speed up his speed. I'll show you a couple ways. First is through story, where you come in. Actually, there's 3 ways you can do it. You go into story, it's the same thing. Insert character animation track, pick your character, insert your current take. There it is. Right now, if I tried to do this, I'm not actually scaling the animation. You can see there's no keys after this because I've actually extended the animation. What I want to do is I come over here and I want to click that button, because that is time scale. Then I also want to make sure that I have no snap turned on. And then I can actually scale this. Now you can see he's actually moving because I'm actually compressing time. So if I play him now, you can see he's moving a lot faster than he was. Kind of more of a brisk walk. And undo that. let me go the other direction. Let's say the director says I want him to move slower. So I'm going to just extend it out. You can see he moves slower now. Let me put it really far out there. He's going to be like super slow motion man. Really slow. Yeah, that's not good. Let's go really fast. This is Benny Hill speed. You guys remember the old Benny Hill show? So that's one way to do it. But my recommendation is turn off snap, because sometimes you can get these weird little frames here. So let me delete that. That takes me back to my base layer. Base animation with nothing, no timing warping done to it. The other one is time warp, which I don't think I want to get into right now. I'm going to show you something else with time warp. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it this way in here in my my key group. So I'm going to make sure I'm on full body. I want to make sure snapping is turned off, because if I do this and snapping is on, it will actually take keys and copy over other keys, and we don't want that to happen. I'm going to select everything, full body mode, select everything, and I can come in here and I can actually type in on this far right number how fast I want it to be. Let's say I want to decrease it by 40 frames, so it's only 100 frames long. So now it's at 100 frames, and now he's moving a lot faster. You see he's actually walking faster than that light node that I had follow him. So that's another way you can do it. You can actually drag this out if you want, back and forth, and just eyeball it. Let me show you time warp real fast. So let's say you have an animation and you want to screw with the timing in a matrixy sort of way that you don't want to do an engine. You want it in the animation for whatever reason, or maybe you even want to reverse the animation. Maybe I want this animation to play backwards, like this. Maybe we didn't capture a backwards walk and we need to turn a forwards walk into a backwards walk. It could be any number of reasons why we want to do this. So you want to go to your F curves. Pull this up so we can see what's going on here. Get back on this guy. So I'm going to select his entire control rig. And if there's anything else that was animated, you want to select that as well. Select all of his keys. And I got all the keys selected. I'm going to go and I'm going to say enable time warp, which it looks like it disappeared, but it didn't. I'm going to create a time warp, which gives you this spline. This is where I scale the spline. You want to kind of get this visually where you want it, so it's easy to work with. And then I'm going to say apply. And it's going to apply all those curves that we were just looking at. Now, if I play this right now, he's going to be kind of choppy because he still has everything selected, so I can see all these curves. So I'm just going to deselect everything. And what this does is I can scale time. If I can select this, which can I select this? Why is it not let me select this? This is strange. Oh, there we go. That was weird. So I'm going to go, it's linear. I'll do smooth. All right. So I've got this smooth. Now I can mess with this time warp. I'll flatten. Can I flatten that out? There we go. So now you're going to see some weird stuff happening as he slowly gets into it, and then he moves really fast, and then he slows back out. Let me smooth that back out. Let's say I want it to happen in the middle of the animation. I can come in here and I can set a, oh, I totally screwed that up. I can set a key, and I can play with this as well. So he's going to come in, he's going to slow down almost to a stop, and then he's going to pick back up and keep going. And if I turn on weights, I can actually fine tune this even more. And there's just all sorts of things that you can do with warp. to make him feel a little, get the animation to do what you want. Or let's say, like I was saying, you want to go backwards. You would select this, drag it this way, which you just saw compressed time. Now he's moving really fast. Grab this one, grab this one, go to frame 140. Oh, let me turn snap back on. Get this back to 0. All right, so now when I play it, you can actually see he's moving backwards. So again, let's say you didn't capture a backwards walk. Boom, you've got a backwards walk. Not great. You'd need to do some motion editing to make him feel like he's moving backwards because he's still leaning forwards. And when you walk backwards, you tend to lean back. When you move forward, you tend to lean forward. So there you go. When you like it, you can say merge. I'm not going to merge it down, but you'd say merge, and then you delete the curves, and you'd uncheck this enable time warp, and you're done. But I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. I'm going to get rid of that. So he's just moving forward now. He's back to his original animation. I'm a big believer in experimentation, and I'm just going to give you a quick pro tip. So whether he's on his control rig, if I turn off his control rig, now he's just on skeletal data. You can see that the animation plays because I've baked all my motion down to a skeleton. There we go. Now I'm back on my control rig. If I come in here and I do something really crazy, and I'm like, oh, I baked his arm down and I screwed something up, or this is not working, and I'm just totally I'm fighting the motion capture instead of working with the motion capture. One of the things you can do is, here, I'll screw this up so you can see what I'm talking about. Let's say I'm going to really screw this up. Let's see. Let's set a key there. All right, so there's my screwed up motion. I'm like, I really don't like how that turned out. How can I? But I've done all this stuff, and maybe I've gone past my level of undos. How can I get back to my original motion capture? It's a very, very easy pro tip. Just turn off your control rig. None. The skeleton still has the original data on it because we haven't baked anything down. And then you can just plot right back to your control rig. And now he's back. Now you're back to where you started. So the question was asked earlier, what about making this guy walk up a ramp, right? How do we make this guy walk up a ramp? Well, there's a couple different ways you can go about doing this. I'm going to say the best way to do it is in story. So let's establish our ramp. Let's figure out, floor contacts. Again, floor contacts, very valuable for things like this. So let me show you floor contacts because this will play into ramps. Let me go zoom in on his feet. I think I have my floor contacts hidden, so if I go and I show my floor contacts, show hide floor contacts, you can see he's got these little, it's hard to see, he's got these little cubes here, and they're actually kind of far away from his feet, probably because one of the outfits he has big boots on, if I was to guess. He's got them in his hands as well. If I turn on floor contact, so you go to modifiers, floor contact, feet floor contact, click, and you can see it just pushed his feet up. Do you see that? I'll turn it off, I'll show you. Off on, and toes. I'll do the toes as well. So I can no longer move his foot past the ground plane, no matter how much I would like to. If I turn that off, you can see I can move his foot past the floor plane. Turn it back on. Now this floor plane is defined by these nulls. I got one for the left foot, one for the right foot. And you can see I actually can raise up his foot. So for example, we're talking about going upstairs. I would animate, as his foot's getting ready to come down onto a step, I would animate this up for each step that he was getting ready to step on, and that would keep him from clipping through the staircase. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to turn these off for now. It's usually better to work with them off until you're ready to do a foot pass where they're lined up with the ground. You can really screw up your animation if you leave them on all the time. So let's make ourselves a ramp. So here's my plane. Yeah. All right. So we're going to rotate them up. Let's. What's a good angle? Maybe 14, 15 degrees. I'm going to actually parent my floor contacts to my plane, because you can do that. So when I rotate it up, let's rotate it at, let's do 10 degrees. Oh, not negative 10 degrees. Negative 10 degrees. There we go. Now let's go a little bit higher. Negative 13. Hold on, coffee time. Throat's starting to get dry. All right, so you can see that the floor contacts have rotated with the ground. And if I was to turn the feet on now, you can see it's really trying to get those feet to push up. So I rotated this 15 degrees. Its pivot point is at 0, which is where his start point is. His start point is at 0. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Story, insert a character animation track, select my outcasts, insert an animation. I'm going to turn on my little eyedropper. You can see the, if I come over here, you can see it, the motion path going out that way. I'm going to rotate this. I have two things selected. Unselect everything, reselect that. I'm going to rotate this up 15 degrees. I forgot I can't just Motionbuilder bug. Oh, I want to strangle whoever took that out or messed that up. See if I can. I wonder if I can punch that in. It's on the X 15. Oh, undo. Negative 15. There we go. So, is he staying on? Wait, why is that negative? What is going on here? Oh, it's 13 degrees. It's okay, I'll change this. Negative 15. There we go. All right, all right. There we go, enough fumbling. Everything's in order. Now he's kind of walking uphill like this. It doesn't look like he's walking uphill. It just looks like the camera's crooked. But he's going to be walking uphill shortly. So if I like this, I'm going to be like, all right, time to start doing some motion editing. So I'm going to plot this down. Plot to skeleton. Plot to control rig. I'm going to, there's a trick you can do. So he's got, I don't know if it's a character extension or not. Let me delete this now that I've plotted him down. Go to my navigator. Let me see what his character extensions are. He's got a weapon mount character extension, but he does not have a locator or a movement character extension. So I'm going to use that movement to help me create that pose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my character extensions. I'm going to create a new character extension. So I'm going to insert character extension. Call this movement. Like so. I am going to grab that node and I'm going to drag it into that character extension. So you see it right there. And then I'm going to drag that into his character. It says, do you want to update your pose? Yes, I do want to update my pose. Let's get back over to pose control. I'll get text bombed here. All right. I think Pink Werewolf's getting ready to sign off here. She's like, going to bed, dude. All right. Well, Pink Wolf, feel free to watch this later. Sweet. All right. So I'm going to see. I want to get this guy looking like he's going uphill. So I'm going to get him to lean forward and into the hill. He's walking uphill like that. So let's get him. Oh, I got all this pinning turned on from earlier. Let me turn off all that pinning. Turn off. Off. There we go. All right, so I'm going to take him and I'm going to push him forward and I'm going to lean him in to the hill. So it feels maybe he's more like he's trying to climb up it. I'm going to set a full body key. I'm just going to see how it looks. That's better. It's not too bad. Feels like he's leaning more into the hill. And if he was going downhill, I'd do the opposite. I'd lean him back. I do want to note his legs are wanting to IK out because I have kind of pushed him forward. So this is a good time because this is an offset layer. You can go into translation and we can start messing with the initial keys that we set. And I can be like, well, let me drag him down a little bit on the Y. That puts that bend back into his knee. Still kind of popping a little bit. Again, like I was saying earlier, if you wanted a character to walk uphill, it's best to actually motion capture whatever that is within reason, and then motion edit the rest. Let's see. Push him back a little bit, just a smidge. Erg. Let's get this. All right there. Haha. So I'm getting one little pop right here on that leg at this part of the cycle. So I can do a couple things. I can keep playing with these curves, or I can edit it in a different way, where I'm only editing that section of the animation. Kind of IK's out there too, doesn't he? Down here seems pretty good. But as he gets towards the top, he's kind of taking longer strides. So I think what I'll do, but he needs to match his pose up at the top. I probably should have actually animated this locator with him. Oh well. Let's wonder if I can do that now. Let's see. Let me turn off that layer. Let me go ahead and delete that layer completely. Delete. All right. I'm going to copy my pose. I'm going to copy this. New pose. There we go. Got the new pose. Let's see if I can slide this over so I can see that pose library a little bit better. Let me go up to the animation layer, set key, come up to the very top, and I'm going to turn everything on. Let's see, does it work? No. Like this. No. He's going uphill, so it's making it a little bit more challenging. Full body. Oh, because I've got that. I know why he's jumping back. I have the movement node selected. I need to select his hips. Hips, and he should pop under the ground. Yeah. So I'm going to turn off gravity. So he probably didn't see what happened, but his movement node is back underneath his feet. Right there. There's his movement node. Set a key. So you can see the movement node is now moving with him. And let me fix that translation. Linear. So now it's moving exactly with him. In a game, when you move your origin node with your character, you want it to move the same speed. You want it to move with them. Because if he's in the middle of a walk and you shoot him and you want a hit reaction, it's got that hit reaction has to hit right there, which is where that node is, or wherever that node happens to be. And if that node is off, that character would actually pop over to wherever that node is, if that makes sense. Cool. So, all right, so this thing's going. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to bake this down in a pass. So plot to skeleton, plot to control rig, and it is moving on up. I'm going to go back and I'm going to redo that pose where I'm trying to figure out how much he's going to lean into this walk. Let's lean him in and lean him forward. Lean him forward. Push him back a little bit. Push him down. There he is. I'm going to be redoing everything I just did. Z back, Y down. I know I'm probably huffing and puffing if I was walking up a steep slope like this. But I'm not getting any popping in the legs. Maybe it's too much. Come up a little bit. There we go. All right, so the next thing I want to do is, I think I'll turn on floor contacts. So I'm gonna go to my character, outcast, modifiers, feet floor contact, boom, boom. Now his feet are not gonna accidentally pass through that ground plane. Stay right on top. All right, if I'm happy with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and double check my poses, which I've already created my initial pose right down here, right? So I'm going to set that key. We go all the way up the top. Now here's the trick. You want to select, you can actually select a node you want to get the pose from. Turn off translation. I think I'll keep rotation on because I want to make sure he's facing the same way. I'm just going to hit paste. You can actually see lifted up. Oh, I need to recreate that pose. It's late and I'm getting tired. Create a new pose. This is the uphill pose. All right, go all the way to the end. And paste. And no movement. That's great. That means my animation is going to loop. What other things can we do to this guy to make him feel like he's going uphill, right? I think I'm going to add more bounce into his step. Because I feel like you walk, you kind of have to like lift yourself up more as you kind of like take each step, right? You're like, oh, I'm going uphill. He's still kind of walking on that flat plane. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plot this down. Oh, plot to skeleton, plot to control rig. I'm going to grab his hips. I'm going to go to base layer. I'm going to show you ghosting. F curves. There we go. Base animation. There we go. Oh, this is going to be tough. He's not walking on a straight plane. He's going uphill. So my curve going up is going up. Let's see, how can I do this? So there's a couple ways you can do this. Yeah, I was going to do it doing a ghosting method, but now I'm thinking about it. I think an animation layer is fine. So I'm going to start setting some keys on just that body part, just the hips. Set my 2 bookend keys. I'm going to try to find everywhere where he's like up and down, right? So he would be up here, and he'd be down here, and then he's up there and down and up and down, up, down. I'm just guesstimating right now. Broad brush strokes, right? I can adjust these keys later. And if I don't like it, I just delete it. It's non-destructive. And up. See, down and up. Down. And up. And down. Maybe I should have chose a 1 cycle walk. Up. Down. Up. Down. All right, so I know every other key is an up key, so I'm going to grab these up keys. Which is every other key. Wait, did I grab every other key? It's hard to tell. Just going to move these up. Like that. Did I mess up? I messed up. So I got off. Let's try that again. It's every other key. Did I mess up again? Except for that last one, right? So I put a little more bounce in his walk. Zoom in on that curve, except for that last little bit right here. What's going on? So he's going up and he's coming down. They should be kind of going up again. So I'm going to take this key and this key. I'm just going to slide them both up equally. There we go. You can also grab these keys and let's see. I don't know. You can play with the curves. There you go. And we can amplify this and play around with this to kind of figure out what feels best for this in particular animation. So maybe I want him to come down a little bit more, like he's a little bit more of a huffing and puffing it. So if I turn off my layer, you can see he's It's more like gliding up the hill with his hips. If I turn that animation layer back on, he's got a little more bounce, like he's trying to, you know, his legs are actually working to kind of like push him up to that next step. And by the way, if this was a staircase, it'd be like a same scenario. You're leaning him forward, only you're not going up a plane. You'd probably leave his feet flat and just kind of, you'd still a slightly different way of doing it, but because I probably wouldn't rotate the story clip like I did here for the plane. I'd probably just do actual transitional offset. And I think his arms would be working harder. Let's go look at his arms. Let's go look at his upper arms particularly. Let's look at, we are in global, let's go to local. So let's see what happens. I'm gonna, okay, here's ghosting. So I'm working on a base animation layer now. I'm not working on the additive layer. I'm gonna select one arm, I'm gonna experiment. I'm gonna say keep, which is now keeping a record of that curve. And go here. I like to just wiggle things to kind of like see how they react and respond. So that's that way. You can see when I move it, there's a little ghosted image right there, which allows me to swap back and forth between the two. So it's going to be a combination of Z and Y. I think that's going to maybe give me the desired effect that I want. So all I want to do is I think I want to just amplify those curves. I'll just amplify it like this. You can kind of see the difference between the left arm and the right arm now. That looks horrible. And that is why I ghosted things. So I can just say swap, and I'm back to where I was at. No harm done, non-destructive. Again, I believe in experimentation. And that experiment failed miserably. So, floppy arm, that's right. All right, so that didn't work. I'm going to clear that out. So I'm back to my original data. I'm going to go to an animation layer. And I'm just going to by hand rotate it up. Let's grab those controls. And I'm going to go into global axis. I'm just going to rotate those arms forward, set a single key. Kind of like his arms are going forward to help balance himself up. I think I would do with these arms what I did with the hips, and mainly because of the way the joints have been built and the characterization of this character. Other numerous factors, I would, on every part of the swing, whether it's the back swing, the forward swing, or the down swing, I would set a key, and I would just amplify that curve where I need it. I think picking his feet up, though, is also important. Let's... Okay, here's another pro tip to make things a little bit easier. All right, so we know the degrees that we want him to go uphill is, what was it, 15 degrees, I think is what I set it to. What is that? Set to 15 degrees. Let's see, players the arm flops when they're destroyed as... It's entertaining to say the least. Yeah. That's what game are you playing? Ah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Kinshi. If I was a game developer and I wanted a floppy arm system, I think I would put ragdoll physics on that arm, and I'd have ragdoll physics take over. At least that's what I would pitch. That I'd let engineers and designers tell me if it's feasible or not. But if it's something that they want, then yeah, I think that's what's happening. Ragdoll, totally possible. It's probably special code that they wrote specifically for that game to be able to have a single limb or limbs, multiple limbs go limp in Ragdoll. All right, so where was that? Pro tip. So all right, 15 degrees. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to story. I'm going to insert my take. See, character animation character animation track. Insert my character. Insert current take. Turn on my motion path, which, as you can see, it's now going along the ground because it doesn't know you're going uphill. It's not aware. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to rotate it down 15. Oh, undo 15 degrees. Oh, no, was it 15? Or was it 30? I can't remember. Look at his legs. Because I've got floor contact turned on, right? So it's trying to keep his feet above the floor. Let's just turn that off. Let's see, where are we? Turn that off. I have seen that mistake happen and accidentally bake into an animation without an animator realizing it so many times. So now he's going forward. This is going to make things so much easier by getting him to just walk on a flat plane. So let's bake that down. Plot to skeleton. Plot to control rig. Then I'm going to go into my F curves. I'm going to grab his feet. Go into the Y. Base animation layer. You can see where his feet are coming up now. Let me do 1 foot at a time. This can be tricky. So when he comes up, this is right there-ish. I think from here over, I'm going to take that, I'm going to just raise that up. Why is it not raising up? Oh, because I still have story on, don't I? There you go. You can see I'm getting tired. Story's still in here. Let me delete that. Go back to my F curves, and let's try that again. So now he's picking his feet up a little bit higher. I think I need to grab a little more curve. Maybe to right there. Looks a little funny as he's walking on a flat ground. Go do the other foot. It's all experimental. Just experimenting. Raise that foot up. Probably could have done this with his hips as well, like to get that bounce in his hips that I really want. Could have probably flattened it out like this. If I'm happy with the curves, I'll go ahead and plot that back down. And let's go back to story, insert character animation track, insert current take. Oh, add the character. Insert current take. Turn on the little eyeball. And it was -15. And you can see he's kind of going back uphill now. Although it doesn't feel like he's doing it right. What's wrong here? Yeah, it's 15. I think it's because I turned floor contact off and I messed with the curves, so his feet are now going through the floor, but I'll let you guess how I'm going to fix that. Plot this down first. Any guesses? 20 points to whoever can figure out how it'll be fixed really quick and fast. Delete. Time's up. I'm going to fix it with floor contacts. Feet, toes, turn those on. Now his feet are no longer going through the floor. I wouldn't call this great, but I'd say if you're in a jam where you're like, I've got to walk, and now they say I need to make them walk uphill, and I don't have access to motion capture. There you go. You can motion edit this to go uphill or downhill or whichever direction you desire. So let me stop right there, hit save. And transition. Boom. There we go. So it is 11:30 and I have to get up super early in the morning to send a kid off to school and go in and make a video game, because if you haven't joined me before, that's what I do for a living. I make video games. And I appreciate you all so much for tuning in. It's really cool to be able to talk to you guys and gals and just be like, this is how animation's done. This is how motion capture works. This is what I've been doing for, oh my gosh, 12 something plus years of motion capture or something like that. And been in the game industry like over 15 years, in industry like more than that. And it's kind of like a really great platform to just kind of like talk to you all and kind of give like, this is how it's done, and maybe inspire some of you to like run off and go do some animation or or go to school. I wish there was cheaper solutions to motion capture. It's really expensive. I wish I had the money to spend $60,000 on a 12 camera system. But maybe one day I'll win the lotto and I can do that. Until then, I rely on companies and that sort of thing to do motion capture. And I'm very fortunate to have the job I have, because it allows me to be able to shoot motion capture and edit it and do the stuff that I'm passionate about and that I love to do. And that being said, I don't only do motion capture on this channel. I also sculpt. In fact, I got my little sculpture right back here. It's a little anatomy study that I've been working on. So if you hadn't seen me on Sundays I'm going to get in. I'm going to be sculpting. I'm thinking about adding illustration, a lot of other things. That's kind of why I call myself Brewhouse Art Studio, is because you never know. I never know what I'm going to be brewing up. Am I going to be brewing up an animation or hand key or motion capture? Am I going to do sculpting? Am I do illustrating, or maybe a craft project? I got this Millennium Falcon that I want to put together. It's this little wooden um, uh, puzzle kit or whatever model kit. I want to put together. Check out my YouTube. I've got a Lego ship in the bottle that I built. It's kind of fun to watch. But yeah, if thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't hit that follow, hit the follow. You guys have already got me to the associates or affiliates level on Twitch to become an affiliate as far as viewers are concerned. So thank you very much for that. Now it's up to me. I got to work hard. I got at least 2 more streams I have to do before I achieve that. So maybe next Wednesday I'll achieve that goal and unlock affiliate. Um, and if you ever are curious, I try to put links down below for like resources that you can use if you want to do any of this, or if you like to sculpt. I have like you click on my shop, which takes you to my website, and I have all these shop tools that you can sculpey and tool, different clays and stuff that you can use to start sculpting. It's kind of like a good little starter kit. Clicking on those Amazon links and buying it through those links helps me out. Not just clicking on it, but like if you're like, hey, I do want some like crazy strong coffee. Click, you know, you get to drink some coffee, and it helps support me and this channel, and maybe upgrade systems and what have you. But that being said, I hope to see you guys and gals next week, and for doing my sculpting, and give you a quick little preview while I got you. If I can got some tools on here. My little anatomy sculpt that I'm doing. I've got the leg, which is what I was working on, practicing, trying to get better. But yeah, here we go. Where are we? Yeah, little skeleton. So come join me Sunday for that as I continue to build out. One half is going to be muscle, the other half is going to be skeleton. And I hope to learn a lot for my next sculpt. So anyway, I will see all of you later next time.